Ahogy green flag van abban a pillanatban.
De jó lesz az S-ekbe GT-t. GT-t kivárni igazából.
Nem tudom, hogy hol vagytok, srácok, félek.
Mi?
Nem tudom, hol vagytok, srácok, félek.
Féljen.
Mitől félsz?
I am in the VEC S16. Don't know where are you guys.
Ja. Már értek mindent. Te vagy a legnagyobb rajongója. Még nem értem még.
Hol az Istenbe vagytok?
Nyújtott jobb.
Igen, ott van.
Halljuk.
Biztos, hogy ott van.
Nem hazudok.
Nem hazudik a csávó, lehet
Ilyen
hallani.
hazugságdetektor a kormány.
Úgy igen. Vagy várjál, hadd hallgassam.
Úgy kijárat?
Úgy kanyarból kijáratom, majd látsz egy táblát, ami traction-es. Igen, traction-es, ami átmegy a pálya fölött.
Igen. És amint
az zöld. Amit eléri az első autó, az a zöld.
Jó.
Tehát, hogy annyira korán van, úgyhogy arra figyelj. Te még kb. A kanyarba leszel.
Azért van tempója a P2-knek.
Hát nem lesznek messze.
Középső szektorban nem fogod tudni őket megeverni.
Hátsó egyenesből nem alig jöttem rájuk.
Welcome to Bahrain for round 3 of the Virtual Endurance Championship here in Season 16. It's just 4 hours here this afternoon, but a punishing 4 hours in the desert it is going to be, and only the second time we have visited this venue in this championship. Welcome one and all, my name is Ian Delirium alongside Cam Roger.
Giancarlo Rossi.
Hour at least of this 4-hour
Valentino Fisichella.
It's good to be back in Bahrain for the second time here in the VEC. We've only been here once before. It was last season, of course. It was a 4-hour race back then as well. But we're a lot earlier in the season this time around.
Yep, certainly, and of course the real world WEC happening this weekend as well at the very track. So it's going to be an awesome one, a great track, a great addition to the calendar last season. And here is how the schedule goes. We've got 9 races over the course of the season. We've already had a couple of tricky ones to start, but it doesn't get any easier, including 2 24-hour races. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one. And you and Twannis, this was probably one of my favourite races last season, actually. It's quite an interesting one. Just a shame it's only 4 hours. Changes it for the driver.
Channel switched.
It does. It feels more. It almost doesn't feel like an endurance race 4 hours around any circuit really, but here as well. 6 hours of Spa will be coming up next, by the way, 2nd of December. So look out for that when we get there. Only a couple of rounds down so far this season. In terms of those at the front, anyway, with very much defined by who had penalties, because Race Clutch won the first race, of course, and they managed to recover. In the end, Winchik Racing Team managed to take the victory in the end. Let's just take a quick look at the grid, by the way. Race Clutch are on the front in second position. Then it's Sim Racing for Holland and then we've got Go Team Racing. Winchik Racing Team down in Spa. They're on the 4th row. Sim Racing for Holland and Racing Zone Team are on row 5. That is the hypercar grid at the front. Hypercar Racing Esports is at the front of LMP2, head of Team RS. Then it's Scuderia Ferrari Esports and Team RTR on row 2 of LMP2.
Final assigned Be van állítva minden, a kormányomon is. Elvileg minden megvan. 50 szektor. Kormány mixik, pedál mixik.
Who are on the next row. Undercover Bahrain 23rd overall with Sean Clark Racing still in Division 1, of course, they're 24th. Then it's Vala Corsa and RFO or RFRO
betöltötted.
Be van töltve, le is van összeállnolva.
Na jó.
Rek 43 fok, belőle 30.
Na, tökéletesen van. Tökéletes körülmények között teszteltünk.
The rest of the GT3 grid will start with Yunus Ravio, who got off to a great start, Road Atlanta, of course, for BS Zoom competition. Then it's Monaco, Caspian Motorsport, and Thomas Enger Sim Racing to round out the top 6 there.
Jó. Válts fel, amennyire tudsz magas fokozatban. Én csak gurgulázz. Próbálj nem fékezni. Felvezetők körül. Annál kevesebb bizonyabból meg tudod csinálni.
Egy kupunkról én most nem tudok.
Leszarom. Maximum 80, csak mondom. Igen. A pit limiter.
Jó.
Fölzárkózol, csak ugye utána annyi.
Tomeli ERT in the Mercedes, start 47th, ahead of the other visceral esports car, and then that is the final row. It's good to really early and some satellite racing to round out the 50 cars. Very big grid, Cam, and some tongue-tying acronyms as well to go with it, but very, very busy on what is realistically not actually a very long.
Próbáld meg az első gumikra figyelni, az a fő feladatod most.
So if you divide that up, it's really actually not too much per car, just over 100 meters. So definitely once the race spreads out a bit, we get to sort of lap maybe 20, lap 30 into the race. It's going to be just cars absolutely everywhere, especially for the top classes, the hypercars and the LMP2s. They're going to be lapping those GT3s a lot. There's 20 GT3s, 20 LMP2s, and 10 hypercars. So it looks like that's actually a full grid, which is good to be seeing all the teams continuing with that. Of course, we have the sort of relegation system as well. So we have Division 2, and then after every couple of races, we have some teams going up and down, trying to keep the divisions nice and competitive.
Yeah, and you will notice those couple of new names as well as we went through the grid. In terms of penalties as well, as I was saying, Road Atlanta, in terms of the result, was very much defined by penalties, because I think it's fair to say that Race were maybe the fastest team across the board at Road Atlanta, but I can't remember if they had 2 or 3 penalties at the start of that race, but there was certainly a lot. And it set them back quite a lot as well. Still managed to recover to the podium, but in the end, Winchik Racing team were the ones who took the win on that occasion. And they're now tied at the top of the championship with Race
Ki van nekiknek is van egy DT-je.
Vagy a Börsznek is, vagy mi?
A Börsznek is van 2 DT-je, meg a 3-as autónak is van 2 SNH-ja, 60 szekes. Segítség!
Az Arder.
An easy one in the 4-hour race.
Előled 3 Verdal fog.
4.
Yeah, just how close the racing is. And talking of penalties, there's a whole list.
Ja, 4 Verda fog kisorolni.
Way too many.
Az Arder-kánék az teljesen off. Az 2 60 szekesen, hát azt jövőre töltik le.
And in the hypercars as well.
Az 3 vagy 4 kör hátrány.
Stop and hold 60s, number 4 burst. They have a couple of drive-throughs as well.
Szólj, hogyha hagyjanak be, hogy féket melegítsen. Csabi kurvára nem érdekel. Egyébként a büntetések.
A lot of penalties will be coming your way.
Left side of the LMP2s to catch up, please.
Because I don't have the list in front of me, Cav, is there any for the reigning champions? Do they have one in the number 1?
No, not
Most fordulunk rá.
Jó, ott féket melegítse egy olyan 5-600 kit.
If they get away by a few seconds in that first stint and then a few drivers back to penalties,
Válts vissza nyugodtan.
Yes.
Nem maradj le nagyon arra, figyelj, mert utána föl kell zárkóznod. És ahogy az első autó eléri, akkor felső reklámtáblát, akkor zöld kb. Úgyhogy ne aludj be. Hajrá! Limiteren legyen.
So I apologize for that. Anyway, we're making our way now down towards the final corner for the first time on this formation lap, and we're almost ready to go racing. 4 hours in the desert here this afternoon in the Virtual Endurance Championship. Bit of a stack up further behind as the LMP2 sort themselves out. Someone driving along the top.
Baleset. Sokkal előbb engedtek el minket, élünk, harmadik vagyok. Nagyon nagy baleset.
You guys, code 80 in 10 seconds. That's in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Code 80 in force.
Azt a kurva geci.
Testvér, aki létezett benne volt. Mikor elfordultad a T1-et, még az autók pörögtek a hátukon a T-csukanyag.
Néztem hátra, geci.
Kegyetlen bazd. Ki van előtted?
Schindler.
Jó, Günt is. B2.
Az a baj, Lartiló már 4-szer elment, mert Schindler már T1 után, még akkor még el se kezdett visszaszámolni, ő már benyomta a limiter.
Nem baj, szép, nem szabad megelőzni. A törésünk van, nem, láttam hozzád ért az egyik.
Nincs semmi, nincs. Ó, geci, de beszartam. Tudod, mi volt a szerencsénk? Az, hogy előbb engedtek el, és nem tudom, én ugye a táblát néztem, nem pedig a green flaget, és kicsit bealudtam.
Ja, és nem mentél velük, hanem volt helyedél.
Igen.
De Schindler is sérült, mert valaki őt lökték meg hátra.
Őt forgatták meg először.
Hát ő keresztbe volt, geci.
Őt forgatta be valaki. Az a baj, nagyon szar kamerában mutatták a rajtot, mert valahonnan
Majd fogjuk látni mindjárt.
az Utcsó kanyar kijáratára mutatták, hogy a megszéről.
Ne nézz vissza! Te elsőjéddel foglalkozol.
Te ne nézz vissza, bazd meg, mert ez undorító volt.
Úgyis van ide.
Hát ki lehetett igazából? Csak a Gótin.
Gótin.
Szerintem a hevesi.
Nem a hevesi.
De nem, mind a két Gótin bal oldalt volt.
Micsi volt. Nem,
akkor Micsi
volt.
Micsi lökte meg a Schindlert, az meg a két Gótimet.
Ja, ennyi. Ez Micsi volt.
Azt a kurva, mi volt ott, geci.
Ez Micsi volt.
Azt a kurva. Valaki berepült a boxba, geci.
Igen.
You guys, code 80 in 10 seconds.
És Micsit még kibaszta az Iris, amikor visszajött a pályára. Ez kurva.
That's in 5.
Küldök Discordra, ezt figyeld, Geci. Tani besírsz.
Micsi streamjéből?
Micsi streamjét, nem izét, abból klippelt a Nikó, azt figyeld. Martin, nézzük, és Jézus! Pont Martin, téged mutattak a streamen, Jézus, Geci! A Nade Racingnek jövünk egy sörrel, mert az utolsó pillanatban kapta el az autót, hogy telibe verjen.
Bemutattak engem?
Igen. Te szemszögedből, a külső kamerádból néztük végig a rajtot. Hogy lettél 8-ba harmadik, 80 méter alatt. Jó van, akkor nézzünk körül egy kicsit. Hogy vagyunk? Mögötted Arda Erkán büntés, onnantól meg a Schindler is, úgyhogy jók vagyunk. Igen, ettől féltem, hogy egy ilyenbe belekeveredünk, de szerencsére megúsztuk.
De ilyet bazd meg.
Hát ez Micsi volt. Ez Micsi volt. Két DT-vel maradjuk annyiba, hogy a Burstnek a következő versenyre is lesz büntje, mert ez ugye Orinzó ráadásul.
Ez részben. Tehát ő tömegbalesetet okozott. Ez részben egyértelműen.
Micsi, hogy reagáltál, vagy mi van vele?
I'm sure some of those teams are doing their best to avoid, but it's very difficult.
Fogja a fejét.
As we're going to see some drivers
nem, hát hiába fogja ő, ezt még nem látta valószínűleg, amit ki. Mert ugye az volt a baj, hogy a Schindler belagadt. Annyira közel ment a Micsi a Schindlerhez, nem volt köztük negyed autó se. Schindler így van. A Schindler beragadt, ahogy green flag volt, a Micsi egyből kinyomta a limiter tövön, ugye, és beugrott egyszerre a Schindler bele. És a Burstnek úgy van majd egy kör hátránya, hogy még van két DT-je.
Szerintem erre most már kap egyet egyébként. Bár igazából minek?
Azok az autók, akik most a boxban vannak, azoknak a versenyét mind a Hoyer indította el. 15 autó testvér.
Jaj, kellett volna egyet rátankolni, mindegy.
Nem kell rátankolni, Dani.
Nem kell
rátankolni, nem fogyott semmi üzemanyag, és mentünk 4 percet.
Nem igaz.
5, 4,
Hideg minden.
2, 1, green flag.
crazy start we have had
Hideg minden
here
arra
this
figyelj.
afternoon to the 4 hours of Bahrain. A start that not many could have predicted. We are going to go back to green once again now, and hopefully we can have a bit of a cleaner
5,
restart.
4, 3, 2, 1.
And we go back to green flag racing. Lartaloo will take it underway for race clutch as he did from that pole position, but look at the gap that has worked out after just, well, we had about 50 meters of racing, did it with the hypercars come through in towards Hairpin. Go Team Racing already making a move in the background. Cold brakes there for Simfreem, and on the exit is going to be TX3 trying to make a move.
Yeah, so presumably with cold tyres and a lot going on here to start off the race. Adam Taylor, I think, has got a penalty early on here for Warnaco. I'm not sure whether that's the actual penalties being applied here or whether that is a new one that he's managed to get, but it looks like it. So Patrick Sokowski still leads in the Hyperion Esports LMP2 car. Then we've got all sorts of battling further back. Saw a bit of side-by-side between Gold Racing Esports and Darius Andre and Timothée Andonovski of Scuderia Ferrari. I think that is just a little bit further behind in the 39
Valakinek
car.
csak kirogott.
So they're fighting in LMP2. It's decent fights here, and the prototype categories actually stay very close together. What this has done is allowed us to get underway for a proper start now, if you like, and this one thankfully has been a lot cleaner, although I think a few people were sliding around and stuff on this restart as well.
Yeah, it's definitely difficult. Cold brakes and cold tyres, of course, you know, they don't take too long to warm up in these cars, but certainly just a couple of corners would be nice, and it's really the brakes.
Jó, miért neki eddig
It's
Schindler?
very difficult braking, especially in the hypercar.
Hagynom,
Just as
Muszáj
it is,
nyomnia, mert
it's
büntie
not
van.
the best, it's all in the
Hát csak,
back
hogy nem
of the
annyira
game,
sérült, úgy mondom.
further down in the
Tartilótól már
LMP2
kapott egy
category,
jó szeket.
in towards the Apex
Jó,
off turn number 1. I think that's undercover Eurasian car trying to have a battle. They got Zoltan Boda just up ahead of them up the
Neked
inside.
a gumira kell figyelni, ez a dolgod.
Jelen
Jelen esetben most te Lartiló mellett a Perth-Oppszal vagy csatában. Mert ők
Yeah,
kijönnek.
side by side on the exit of the corner. This, oh dear, and it's
Így megvan a 34 kör.
there was contact
Am.
there.
Good.
5 and
35 is
6,
megvan.
and then through downhill at 7 as well. Thankfully they get away with that, but that could have been oh so different. One of the places on this circuit where you can actually make contact with the wall if things go wrong, and that is a bit of a rarity sometimes around here. So just around 10 minutes gone, just under. Tom Lartaloo still leads the race for Race Clutch. Then it's Simfreem Esports in second, the Winchik Racing Team in third. There are 7 hypercars still at the front of this field, then followed by 9 LMP2s. Then in GT3 we've got about 16 who have gotten away cleanly, so they've had a bit of a better time of things, but both prototype fields have been completely decimated by the opening of this race.
Yeah, they certainly have, and unfortunately that's what happens when you get a crash right at the beginning of the race. It just puts everyone in a really tricky situation, to be honest, and yeah, hopefully some teams can recover from that over the course of the race. 4 hours is still long enough to come back for stuff. It just depends on the consistency of everyone else. If everyone has a consistent race, it's very difficult to do so. As there we've seen have a seat for Go Team Racing making up a position, going past Team Racing for Holland's Bernots, and gets himself up into P5 in the number 7 car. Is that the Valet LMP2 getting overtaken there? Must be a lap down already.
Yeah, they're not 4th overall, I'll add. They are just returning from the pit lane again. Who is still in pit lane at the moment, if you're wondering at home? Valley Esports have obviously just made their way out again, although I actually can't find them down towards the back of the grid at the moment. Oh yeah, I can. They're 37th overall, but only 12th in LMP2. They're not actually doing that badly. Further back, we've still got Netrex GP's number 27 in pit lane. Short Clock Racing still in pit lane, as well as Team Iris, who were up there in the first race, of course, and up there in the championship as well. They are, in fact, championship leaders. Martin Hemmingson, championship leader, the number 37 car in the pit lane. RFRO Sinsport not having a good debut in Division 1 this season. They're on pit lane as well. Hearing it's a DNF again for BS Plus Zoom competition. What a disastrous season they're having from time to time. They're either absolutely on it, as they were at Road Atlanta, or they're absolutely not, as they were at Monza and now Bahrain.
Yeah, they've had such a difficult start to the season, and Eunice Rivio in that car is going to be not too happy with that one. Going
Félek
to
a
a lot of effort
szélárnyékába maradni, nehogy az legyen, mint Dani, akkor gyakoroltunk.
Ja, nem baj. Nem is kell sietned, ha mindjárt kitakarodik előled.
De olaj a 114, ez nem sok.
Nem.
He's got 2-second gap in behind.
VEC
as well. So that is working out very nicely for them as it stands. As Visceral Esports and Diogo Silva in that car, they're starting to get the lapped cars coming past them.
Yeah, it's going to be a busy race from now until the end because the field is so spread apart. Closest leading gap is in LMP2 at the moment, but that field is very spread out as we've mentioned.
Hát igazából ennél már csak egyet lehetett volna nyitni a hűtőkön.
Ha ez nem bírja ki, akkor semmi.
De sokat hibázik Schindler, azt én meg megyek utána, gec.
Gumikra figyelj, mindjárt megy ki a boxba már.
Right now, then they are actually the only ones left on pit lane actually in GT3, but the others have managed to make their way back out again, trying to find.
Azt csinálom, hogy egyel visszaveszem az első végbe ezt.
Thomas Engler Sim Racing are third, which is not bad at all.
Mint végére meg vissza.
So far in the races, but Black Hawk Racing after a great start to the
season. Majd akkor nézd meg, hogyha eltűnik előled, hogy mit tudsz kezdeni.
De ha blokkolsz, akkor egyből előre rakod.
That is difficult. We're going to get another replay. Here's Ryder. Oh, look at the absolute carnage. He tries to go to the...
Miket fogyasztok? Gumiba azt ti látjátok? Körönként. Most például...
0.5-öt, illetve 0.4-et.
Miről beszélsz? 0.66-ot és 0.63-at.
Az is jó.
Ja, jó, várjál, average-en volt, sorry.
Hátul nagy a nyomás viszont már.
Magyarul?
Kicsit figyelj rá.
Comes in after a good start actually for Hevesi. He's coming to pit lane now. This is the first of the penalties, and this is what's going to, barring everything that's happened so far, that is really what's going to be the downfall of Simframe, I feel, today. The amount of penalties they've got.
And not just them, so many penalties coming from the previous race. You'll see them in that top left-hand side of the screen pop up when they get automatically applied by the game, and that is obviously all set up from the previous race. So it's a bit of a difficult, interesting situation for some teams of how the penalties get given out in VEC. The fact they are given for the next race, doesn't matter how good your qualifying is, you are going to be dropping down, and of course, because it's at the beginning of the race, you're going to lose the most positions on the track as everyone is so close together. So it's very important to not get those penalties. Unfortunately, after that start, I think there's going to be a few more for the next round, which is not going to be ideal. 6 hours of Spa in a few weeks' time.
Yeah, that's 4 weeks away at the moment, 6 hours of Spa. Eunice Radio, by the way, is coming to the YouTube chat to use the Charles Leclerc meme of I am stupid. I don't know. It's I apologise if we're harsh, but yeah, it wasn't good, and I can't imagine that.
Mondjátok már meg majd végig a bal első fogyasztásomat.
At the start of the race, as you said at the time count, there will have been some people who were,
0.87 ebben a körben.
And there was just nothing they could have done, but there were
Itt kéne megállni.
who ploughed into it. As we saw there, and I think your theory has been proven there by that replay.
Yeah, it's not the nicest situation. We're getting some more cars into the pit lane. Here comes TX3, Sim Racing.
Sokat segít, hogyha nem mész mélyre féktávon. Vagy nem esel be mélyre pontosabban.
Nice empty battle. Talking of empty battles, towards the front, Lartalu, 5-second lead now. He's got to Martin Mergley, and already having a big lead with no penalties. This is going to be a difficult one for the likes of Winchik in behind, because we all know how fast Race Clutch are, reigning champions. Lartalu, from my understanding, really focused on this championship as well in terms of the preparation, so they should be ready to have good speed over the 4 hours.
Yeah, it's looking very good for Race Clutch at the moment, although we've said that before, and it's not always worked out. Patrick Sirkovsky, by the way, is now 6th in the race. This is unbelievable for LMP2. He's got Darius Andre right behind him, which is probably more of a concern to him at this moment. But there's the Simframe car. They've just overtaken him for 5th place. And Patrick Sirkovsky is, well, going to be back in front of them again soon, isn't he? Because Simframe will have to come down pit lane again, I think, for another penalty. So LMP2 leaders all of a sudden are going to be in the top 5. They're not going to finish there, of course, but they probably will finish inside the top 10 by the end of the day, I would imagine. Just down to the way that these races happen, but what a bizarre race. I can't remember a VEC race quite like it. We've had some big crashes off the start, but I don't remember.
Kb. 20 másodperc a DT. Annyira van tőled.
Compared to the hypercars as well. So it's going to take
Schindler.
a couple of stints for the hype cars behind them to overtake them for those overall positions. Of course, we don't actually have points for overall, but it's still good to see the LMP2s getting up there nicely. And also, it's not just one random lucky car. Darius Andre for the gold esports team. Oh, he runs a bit wide there, coming out onto the back straight, but he's certainly giving it the beans and trying to close down.
He is. Virtual Drivers TX3 are back into pit lane again, by the way. They're still 8th, but they're slipping down the order a long way away now. The number 3 car, so that's adding to the overall business that we were just talking about. Over the line at the end of 15 minutes then for Patrick Sikorsky as he leads for Hyperion Esports. Gold Racing Esports are just behind them here at the 4 Hours of Bahrain. Gold Racing Esports second in the championship, of course, going into today looking for first in the race. It's a big dive at turn 1. Side by side they go through 2 and 3 as well. Darius Andre would have had the inside for turn 4, but he can't quite do it. Now on the defensive, Patrick Sikorsky pulls to the inside again. Darius Andre just goes around the outside anyway. He's going to run out of space there, and Sikorsky will hang on to the place. This is only going to allow everybody else behind to catch up, because you can see them in the background, and they're enjoying this battle for the lead in LMP2.
And this is a really great track for battling, as you're going to see here, towards the infield section. Almost a direct inside there. For Darius.
37-es Iris-nak mehet kb a report, hogy unsafe to rejoin.
Between Redline and Van Wall Burst at the time, and
majdnem kilökött.
Csabi, írogatod ezeket?
Complete the move, you know,
Ja,
perfectly. You have to
küldöm
really
neked a
work for
üzenetbe egyelőre, Dani, jó?
get the run up
Jó.
to turn 4, and we saw a huge battle on that day. And
Hanyadik
obviously
körbe
the same
járunk?
cars, same track.
Az a 8. volt, tehát mondta, hogy 7 pont.
Akkor az a 8. kör.
When you're in the same class around this track, and
Hol volt, utcsó szektor vagy?
Utcsó előtti kanyar. Unsafe rejoin.
It's not in many sims either, I've got to say, and so that is.
Az mindegy, mert azt úgyis nekem kell majd timestamp-el, úgyhogy nekem meg kell nézni úgyis.
Just behind Darius Andre, by the way, is Bert Knops in the Sim Racing for Holland car. They're not in their traditional black and white, of course. They've dumped the white and they're just going for the black here this season in that livery. See sort of stealthy looking Van Wall in the background. They're going to pull to the right hand side.
Mi volt
A
előbb?
very wide berth to Darius Andre, who kind of didn't want him to do that, wanted the slipstream himself, and he'll get that. Sim Racing, Simframe is that coming out the pit? No, it's Burst Esport, isn't it? Coming out of the pit lane. Mitchy Hoyer, a long way back at the moment. Still only 8th place, I suppose.
Mitchy kijött Darius mellé a D1-be a boxból, Darius meg lepofozta az útról.
Oh, that is a lot. I mean, that's basically a lap, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that must be a
Ha egy körül fogyasztok,
that's a very
akkor
difficult
szóljatok.
situation for them to come back for, especially with those couple
Oké,
of penalties.
jobb volt a hátsó, mint az
as
első az
well
előző
incident
körben.
for Simincic, and
Többet
then,
fogyasztott
if
hátul.
you remember, towards the latter
Az
part of
se
the
jó.
race, Mocek and Latu had incidents into turn 3 back at Road Atlanta as well. So definitely a couple of penalties that they need to try and remove from their driving over the course of this
De
race.
tökéletesek a körülmények, pont ebbe teszteltünk.
And in the second race, and that has really hindered their start to the season and letting their championship rivals of race clutch get away like they did in the previous seasons. All GTs battling the exit the hairpin.
Wow, that was close. Not sure that wasn't one of the leading GT3s. They pulled wide and
első kereket használni többet, hogy hátsó kevesebben.
not sure that was the way to do it, but they have done, and so they sort that out. Shiva Ballo has made up quite a few places off the start here for Visceral, by the way. Visceral now have their cars in 2nd and 12th, which is not bad at all, especially when one of them started, if not on the back row, then very close to it, the number 66. So that's probably one of the advantages of starting at the back on this occasion, is the fact that they could just slow down and pick their way through it. And I think that's Scuderia Leone just in front of them as well, isn't it? And so I think they started on the back row together, and maybe that says a lot about the way that they approach lap 1.
Yeah, being on the back row does give you the most time, I guess, to avoid some incidents, but also just being cautious as well. That is a big factor that we didn't see from a few drivers in those replays. And I think, one thing I always try and remind, and I had my fair share of penalties in my racing days as well. But
Ne felejtsd el, ami kétes, abban nem menj bele.
Is always the best way, because you might think at the start of the race, I can make up
Úgyse az első helyen megyünk most.
Igen.
You might get involved in it, and then your whole race is done.
Exactly. It's always a better idea to just pull back and wait for it to unfold in front of you, although it is said in hindsight, as you say, when you're in there, it's very different. Leading in GT3 at the moment is still Yimi Nisela. He's 17th overall, so that's 13 places gained so far in the overall standings. He's 1.8 seconds ahead of Visceral, who we were just talking about, Diogo Silva. That's Wojciech Polesny in the number 70. Thomas Enger Sim Racing, of course. Then it's Arnage. Adam Pinches is just ahead of Liam Rance, or he was. And he's going side by side with him now. It's the Arnage Mercedes on the inside, and one of the LMP2s going through on both of them on the very inside, going towards turn 13. Through will go Pinches back into 4th place. Liam Rance shoved out wide as Satellite Racing try and get 2 cars inside the top 4.
That's a tricky battle through those parts. We get the 3 classes overtaking each other down in towards the final hairpin, or corner, I should say. Blumschein gets a penalty. I'm sure that's just another one of the automatic penalties. So they were at DNF, so they must have come back out and rejoined the race. Liam Rance now down. Their start-finish straight, tries to get the slipstream all on us, start to move over just a little bit, tries to squeeze them in towards the braking zone, have a tighter apex, but Rance is going to hold it there on that inside line. They break almost identically in towards the hairpin. Rance gets his car through into turn 1, and Pinches now needs to try and get that run back up the hill.
I don't think he's going to be able to do it, although it is a very good run, I suppose, from Adam Pinches here. Liam Rance knew immediately where to go, and that was to the inside, going towards turn 4. Rance is probably not far enough alongside here, but he will break late and give it a good go. Liam Rance will hold the inside line and hold the place as well into the middle sector of the lap. So Liam Rance up to 4th place now, and that battle is pretty much over, although Adam Pinches is going to stay close for the moment. Down the hill in towards this hairpin, turn 8, tricky braking zone down here, but of course ABS on these cars, the only class in the field to have that driving aid. Patrick Sikorsky still leads in LMP2, but that gap is, I was going to say, getting closer. Well, it certainly is doing that. They're actually side by side on their way towards the tricky turn 9 and 10. He will stay in front again, but it does feel like he's living on borrowed time right now.
Yeah, I think Andre's the faster driver, but he's got to try and find his way through. Look in the background, there's the Ferrari LMP2 trying to get up the inside as well. Oh, side by side in towards the GT3 as well, but on the inside he's going to make it. Darius Andre gets through, uses potentially a bit of distraction from that Ferrari traffic, and he finds the way past the Hyperion car. Gold Racing go up towards the front of the LMP2s. We've been waiting for that for quite a while.
Okay.
Nálam jó.
Darius Andre's time to pull away, if I'm honest with you. He's already got a few tenths of a second, and now we'll try and that margin further, although he is going to be slowed up by that battle for 4th in GT3 in front of him. Patrick Sikorsky with a much better line. Darius Andre there making a bit of an error, and he's going to be under pressure here. Over the line they go.
92 elő, 93 hátul, bal oldal.
Struggles to get alongside that Hyperion car, maybe not as quick in a straight line as he needed it. He was late on the brakes though.
Na, egy picit elmegyek, csinálok magamnak ebédet, ugye vagyok.
And so the Gold Racing Esports driver will hang on to the lead now with Hyperion Esports second. Scuderia Ferrari catching up there in 3rd. You can see the red and yellow in the background.
Yeah, they certainly are great battles in this opening 20-odd minutes of the 4 hours of Bahrain. And you are seeing the daylight, of course, at this moment in time. It should get just about towards at least beginning of sunset by the end of the race. So that's something to factor in, at least in a few hours' time. But for now, it is Andre leading. And as you say, look who is coming in behind. Timothy.
Mennyire ugyanolyan
Tá de boa, chuva Interlagos, galera. Graças a Deus. Tá bem de boa. Tá bem tranquilo.
But I am doing. There's the full rundown of the LMP2. By the way, look at some of those gaps at the bottom end of the field. I think I saw a lap gap between someone already.
Ijesztő, hogy mennyire ugyanazt a tempót megyünk, hogy jövünk. Arti levó.
Öreg főkészítő. Forgalom van ide-oda idő. Tehát a hevesítő nagyon rondán mentek el fele. 5-6 körönként, úgyhogy nagyon jól. Ez egyértelmű. Most nagyon jól jött ki az, hogy ott kiszabadult tábolyból. Igazából így a szarkvali a semmi, úgyhogy good job.
Well, I say a lot less, you know, a decent step less, at least. So potentially we're looking at some difference in the stints. A 4-hour race, there's not a lot you can do. It's only 6 stints for the LMP2s. You do 3 every 2 hours. approximately 40 minutes a stint. So it's going to be 6 stints over the race. So that's either going to be 2 triple stints or 3 double stints. So I wonder if those on the hards are trying to basically save a change of tyres. A change of tyres about 37 seconds. So if you can save that and do 1 stop for tyres over the course of the race, that might be the way to go.
This is why you don't have fuel and tyres change at the same time as some certain sim racing platforms do. Anyway, it makes it a lot more interesting. It makes it very tactical, and that's why we love the VEC and RF2 as well, I suppose. Some news in, by the way, from the 46 Visceral Esports camp. Apparently, there was a technical problem with the wheel for Tobias Bunchard, I think it was, who started the race on the formation lap. So they pulled into the pit lane before before the start of the race, and so that's why they were DNF. That's why you noted they were DNF cam earlier on, but they have re-emerged. It does seem like they've got about 3 million penalties though. That's at least the second time I've seen Blunchard's name up there on the penalties, so that's setting them back even further. There they are, 17th. I think they've found their teammates actually, ironically, haven't they, just at the moment, but a long way back, 4 laps off the leader already. The gaps are so large for this stage in the race.
Yeah, this is quite something, to be honest. As you say, it's not been the nicest start. So if we get back to those LMP2s, it's a few seconds here and there, but as we get lower down, there are some big gaps, as you say. Almost a minute between some of those cars, 14, 15 place, a lap there behind and Visceral. They're just trying to use the slipstream and drive off their sister car, though, to try and follow their way through the traffic and work their way back up. But wow, it is going to be a difficult and a long 3.5 hours for some of these teams.
Visceral have a lot of cars on the grid this season, don't they? They've got 2 GT3s, 2 LMP2s. It's almost 10% of the grid. Visceral Esports cars. I think Satellite Racing have got 3 this season as well. Juice's Motorsport Club always have plenty, and Pim Van Ark is trying to put his car inside the top 5 right now, and that should be a fairly easy one on the inside of Adam Pinchas, who I don't think has had the best start to this race. He keeps getting overtaken, and that was very nearly the latest of them. Just hang on quite well through turn 2 and 3 though. In the Mercedes, it's going to be a drag race between himself and the Porsche on the run up the hill towards turn 4, and on the inside, Adam Pinchas will hang on to the place, although he goes wide. Pim Van Ark gets the run off the corner using that Porsche traction that it always has. Now down the inside into the S's. Don't often see racing too much through here, and Pim Van Ark shoves Adam Pinchas out wide, and the Juice's Motorsport Club car is through, although not without a slight bit of contact.
Yeah, that was a little bit, we didn't quite perfectly see it from that angle, but yeah, you basically squeezed Pinchas out, so he was really tight on that second apex of the chicane, and Pinchas is going a little bit, losing a couple of places in the last couple of laps, already a little way behind the satellite car, Liam Rance, who's completely gone up the way, up the road, so definitely maybe a bit of damage on that car. Just trying to see the paintwork. You can see if it's wrinkled a bit. I do think there's a little bit on that front end. Maybe just not having the speed in the car at this moment.
It does look a little bit bizarre. Someone wondering why we're so surprised at the big gaps. I know it's because of the crash, but the crash is not normal. I've never seen it. Well, I say I've never seen anything quite like it. I've not seen anything quite like it for a long time. That's why we're so surprised at the gaps. Because it was a bizarre start to this race, and it's created a situation unlike we've seen in VEC possibly ever. As I say, I know we've seen big opening crashes sometimes in the past, but not for a little while, and not quite like this. So that's why we're so surprised. I think it's fair to say at this stage. GT3 has been largely kept together, thankfully, and there's still plenty of battles going on up and down the field in that class as we approach the end of the opening half an hour of this race. Pulling into the slipstream at the moment there. I think that's the race leader, isn't it? That's the race clutch car. Although there's a lot of red and black liveries in the hypercar class this season, and it is indeed Tom Lartanu. Not exactly destroying the field at the moment as I thought he might. Winchick Racing Team, no penalties either, and just keeping them honest at 5.5 seconds. And
on the last lap, they were actually faster, were Winchick, so it's not like they've got absolutely no speed at all. It's just, 10th by 10th. You start.
Hármas kanyag, nem tudod megelőzni a P2-t, akkor végig mögötte lesz.
Visceral just separate that one and spread it out just a little bit.
De nem tart föl, nem?
De. Ez egyenesre pont utol éred.
in your GT3.
Ja,
He took
dit
out
is
for Undersea United actually.
Meg végig előtte is.
Just ever so
most kicsit
slightly
hoztál
in the
vissza
background. You see
Artilo.
there the train of GT3s. The three
Nagyobbat
of them
szokott
Most
bassza.
biztos, hogy
catch down this battle.
most 3 szekes, de eltámad.
That will be useful for them. I was hoping really that Adam Princess
Ja,
would
nem.
get a bit closer while we were on board with Pinball up there, just so we could see
Ő is 44-et
how
vett csak.
crinkled the bodywork is, and I think we can see from here that
Majd a
it is a
mostanit
little bit.
nézd.
I think there must have been contact in the opening.
Ugyanaz
And
amúgy.
unfortunately for the GT3s, it's a long way from safety for them as
Sávesik
well. There's
közeledett,
still half an hour until their pit stops. Realistically, they're going to want to make
Hát még
it
neki
to
át
the
kell
hour
menni azon.
for a 4-stint race. Just 3 stops around here, of course, in this 4-hour race, and that means you can't really just pit it. If this was a 24-hour race, for example, I reckon they might have been in by now, or in during the code 80, just to repair that bit of damage, and then, you know, we'll figure out the pit stops a bit later. We'll figure out getting back on strategy later. But around a race of this distance, you can't get off strategy really, because there's no time to get back on it again.
Yeah, it's certainly difficult to do so, but what might not be difficult is Akko here down the inside of turn 1, although maybe the Porsche doesn't quite have the straight line speed. He hasn't been in the slipstream because he's a bit too close out of the final corner, but he dives it down the inside there on the 77 machine. He should have the inside line for turn 2, bumps it over the curb a little bit, but hopefully we'll get the momentum up the hill, as this is a rather nice battle between the pair of them. Of course, Caspian Motorsport, Understeer United just in behind there with Jan Vellinger, but has he been able to get back the position? No, he can't. And so definitely a nice move there for Caspian, slowly working their way up, and now into P7.
Yep, a nice move, and that puts another Porsche inside the top 7. Good start though for Understeer United, I think it's fair to say, in the Ferrari. Picked their way through the opening carnage, and they're up there now in the standings at the moment. They're down in 15th, which shows you the season they've been having so far. But this is a good run for them so far in this 4 hours of Bahrain. On board with Jan Vellinger now. Just see one of the LMP2s just up in front of him and just behind. He's got one
Second
of the
penalty already.
At the moment. And is that about front position? It is. Alex Broughtingham in the 81 Black Hawk Racing car. Not the championship contending car, the one in second. It's the other Black Hawk Racing car.
Oh.
I think based on the evidence we've seen so far, it's going to be easy for Broughtingham to get through, but he is going to manage it at some point in the near future.
You guys, code 80 in 10 seconds. So that's in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Code 80 enforced.
Joint leaders on the championship, Tom Seng, Sim Racing, Black Hawk, the 17 and 91 cars, they are leading with joint 145 points. So Black Hawk,
I mean,
race
I don't know.
The second of the 81 getting up there. I believe on the podium actually it was, so definitely a good result for them. But for their sister car this time, not so much of a good race. In towards turn 1, can the Aston Martin do anything with the slipstream down this time around? No, not quite close enough.
Not this time for Broughtingham. He'll stay behind through turns 1.
How about red flagging this?
Opening chicane. There is
That is a joke.
The other Black Hawk car. I was saying earlier what a great season start they've had, and I keep saying it. They're one of the most prolific VC teams to have never won a title in this championship. Plenty of the others who they've been racing alongside over the course of however many seasons it's been now for them, but still no title. Is this the year? Well, this is a setback certainly, but over the course of a 9-round season, and we said this a few seasons ago, I think it was 13, wasn't it, maybe, where we last had 9 rounds of the season, you can recover from these kind of
1%-kal rosszabb az első.
Indeed, one of those teams. This is the view of Mark Veit. He's going to hit the pit wall. That's quite unlucky there. He could have gotten away with that. At least he's found the pit lane quickly, but he found the pit wall, and that gave him a fair amount of damage. Admittedly for him, he was so close to the car in front that actually he won't have seen a lot with what was going on there, but eventually
I have no idea.
time, really, and hit the pit wall.
Yeah,
but this is bullshit. Like Schindler has slapped amazingly well on the start in Monza already, and now this.
A difficult one for,
like we are double file. Where am I expected to go? I mean, yes, I rear-end him, but man, if he just goes, nothing happens. But if he just keeps
17 points already after the first 2 races because they won the first 2 races. Gold Racing are in second place at Darius Andre car that's now leading the race. So if the positions finish like this, that is going to be a big swing in terms of the points.
I mean, amazing. We will stay on the lead lap, but we are a minute behind, and we get 2 minutes behind. And we get 2 more drive-throughs. Like, thanks for nothing.
It's a 9-race season, and we said this in the previous 9-race season.
If I'm not in the lane, I get a penalty for being out of lane. If I am in the lane and someone sleeps, this happens.
We only had 6 races in the season.
Exactly.
I can't remember. But it's not like one of those seasons where there's really actually no room for error. This is one of those seasons where realistically most, if not all, teams are going to have a bad round. So you know they've got to just pick up what they can from this one and put it behind them.
Yes.
Yeah, he wasn't expecting the green, I don't care. You're not allowed to sleep when you come around the final turn.
Because not necessarily in terms of the other teams, but in terms of your team. Because if you come
it's great, we're gonna just rejoin into the pack. It is so stupid. So stupid.
If you start having those bad races, that's where it becomes difficult to keep that mindset going over the course of the season. And especially with the length of the season in terms of months. Because obviously we only do 1 race every month. 9 races means it's a 9-month season, so there's a lot of time for you to to have all those thoughts.
I will just keep it, yes.
The races, different one for those teams, so they've got enough time in terms of races to get back. Blumshine gets another penalty. Check that one off. I doubt anyone's going to be counting by the end of the race how many penalties they got.
Grief. That's I've lost count now. So unfortunately, today's going from bad to worse for Visceral Esports at this moment. It's the final one we're hearing, but they are nearly 40 minutes into the race. They'll be pitting soon for fuel. They've only just finished in serving penalties, goodness me. Visceral Esports have not had an ideal start to the day. And that battle will continue. I'm not about to tell us right way through yet, but I want to go to Simfree because they're on the recovery. Patrick Schindler is trying to find his way past the 222 of Roland Toff in the Racing Zone team car. Now this is a new entry in the hypercar class to Division 1, and they're having a very good start to the season. Admittedly they have no penalties, which obviously helps, but Simfreema right behind them, looking for this 4th position. To be in the top 5 though for the 222 is a good start.
Yeah, it really is, and as they getting promoted, coming up in towards
tökéletesen egy a tempótok Tommal az élen.
Putting on a good showing, which just shows you if you
Tizeden belül
did start
autóztok
the season
végig.
in Division 2 or that sort of
vágom.
you do have the opportunities to get
Mögöttetek van már körönként egy jó 4-5 gap. Hevesihez képest, és onnan még 2-re jönnek a tóték.
The bottom 2 will get demoted, top 2 get promoted. Is the general rule of thumb, but of course it depends on penalties and things like that. You might not work your way up. But yeah, of course, if you do get into Division 1, you want to stay there, and especially you want to make sure you get to the final race of the season at the 24 Hours of VEC Le Mans, and you want to be competing with the top teams.
You do. Of course, more points available for those 24-hour races. I think it's still 1.5 times points as we've had in previous seasons. So on board with Patrick Schindler, we are now. It's the Simfreem car, of course, he's driving the number 4. They were pretty close to the championship in hypercar last year as they tried to win 3 seasons in a row in 3 different categories, which I don't think has been done before. We've had 3 in a row in the past, but not in 3 different categories. Let's have a look at the start.
Emlékszel, hogy milyen tájörvárt mondtam 57-nél? Most van 50 liter és 85 a bal első.
Nagyon jó.
Yeah, so Schindler hasn't even reacted. He's still at 80.
Biztos, hogy sérül Schindler amúgy.
Igen, mert van gyűrődés neki jobb hátul.
Meg elől is.
So was Schindler just completely not ready, or was that? But then all the cars behind were going as well.
Abban nem csodálom.
Difficulty from that angle, but I wonder if that's just Mitchie going completely too early, or if it's Schindler just not. Yeah, he didn't move. Everyone else around him on the left lane was going.
Lehet, hogy nem Mitchie lesz egyébként, hanem Schindler.
For that green flag, whether that turns into being his fault or not, I don't know.
Ugyanaz lesz, mint annó S15-ben volt a kattó Monzán. Nem indult el.
In my personal opinion, I don't think that makes it his fault. You know, he's not the one who
nagyon jó a tempó.
into the back, and that was Mitchie Hoyer, unfortunately.
1-3-4.
Into the back of him. I mean, obviously Hoyer will have been expecting Schindler to go, but even so, he went straight into the back of him. And that's where the chain reaction all.
Jó, majd lassan állíts be a pitet.
Everybody else got caught up behind, and unfortunately.
És akkor hátulját cserél?
Igen.
That we've got where the field is very spread out. We've got the top 4 covered by half a minute after 40.
És egyes szárnyira.
In this race, we had a similar gap towards the end of the race at Monza, didn't we? In the opening round, that was 6 hours. we've only had 40 minutes here, so LMP2s will be in soon, by the way. But yes, what a crazy start to the race we have had. Yunus Rabio, by the way, is waiting for us to have a chat, so we might well do in a couple of moments' time. Just want to make sure he's all ready in a moment. But a shame once again for BS Plus competition, or BS Plus Zoom competition, I should say, who are down the only DNFs, remarkably, from this race so far.
Yeah, it's been it was a tricky start, of course, for that BS competition car. They're sitting, you know, okay in the championship. You know, they're still in touching distance of those top positions, but it was it was a very difficult, you know, first round of the season, and now coming into the third. But I think Yunus is actually here and joined us, which is great to see some of the drivers coming in over the course of the season. But Yunus, of course, once again, having a difficult race. Do you want to explain that from your point of view?
Yeah, man, I don't even know what to say, really. Like, that must have been like the messiest race I've ever dreamed.
Ha így megy tovább a különbség növekedése, akkor lehet, hogy Hevesi kiesik már a pitstopokból. Tehát hiába nem cserélnek újt, akkor is elég jut visszajönni a minden jó megy.
Like, the pit lane is so long, but like, it's deserved, to be honest.
And when you went to that left-hand side and you saw that big cloud of smoke, were you expecting a car to be there, or were you kind of hoping at that point?
I was, yeah, I guess I was hoping like that there's just some guy avoiding like some other guy, and there's not like stationary car or anything like that, but yeah, you see what happens. So, but yeah, I don't know, it's a race to forget, but
yeah, certainly. Well, how does this change your mindset going into the next few rounds? Of course, as you said, potentially a big penalty for the next round, but we're just mentioning it's still a 9-race season. There's still a lot of time to try and get up there in the championship.
Yeah, definitely, but I think we need to change something for like the upcoming races. Like, for example, I'm not sure if I'm the right person to start the race, because it's not been that pretty, to be honest. Like 2 of the 3 races I've crashed, so yeah, before first corner, so yeah, not really great.
Oh well, hopefully you have a
tudtam, hogy jobban beszopom a P2-t, mint látila.
Yeah, thanks.
And yeah, I guess
jó, ég mindjárt eldobja előttem.
In the future.
Yeah, I just wanted to
Nem kell vele foglalkozni, az a lényeg, hogy te ne dobd el.
BMW driver, Diego, a great race. Hope he has a better result than what we did, yeah.
Yeah, thanks for speaking to us. We'll see you next time, Yunus. So,
unless I get the race done, yeah.
Absolutely. So, Ewan, a very difficult start for that team. I think we're going to see it again. Oh, perfectly. Wow, look at the absolute carnage there. It gets worse every time we see this.
Yeah, it does feel like that.
Kevés vetsz rajt volt, amit vissza fogok nézni replayben, ez az lesz.
But yeah, thank you very much for chatting to us, and hopefully we'll see you at
Csavi, ezt láttad élőben is, úgyhogy ezt nem kell visszanézni.
Nem, meg akarom számolni, hogy hány autó lett TK. Már lehet, az könnyebb lesz, hogy hány nem.
Igen, ezt akarom mondani.
Itt vagy a harmadik autótól lefele mindenki. Benne volt.
Sort of admitted his mistake in that respect, you know, not sort of defending himself in that situation, just saying, you know, I don't know what I was doing either, to be honest. So
én azon szakadtam, aki berepült a pitbe, geci.
Igen, a Vejtet is egyébként az út bal oldaláról, az Astonnal a boxfalnál kötött ki ott, ugye van a kiszögellés. Odáig elrepült.
De most kicsit csönd.
Yeah, one thing I guess that you see, and again, you know, I had my fair share of incidents when I was racing in VC as well, but yeah, sometimes when you got a penalty, you just have to look at it and you just have to accept it. I mean, even if you don't agree with it, or you don't agree with the rule or something like that, yeah, you just got to just take it on the chin and go to the next race and just go absolutely flat out trying to get the best result at the next race. It's a difficult one. Sometimes, you know, you have the urge to, you know, argue and say, oh, the rule is wrong or the stewards are wrong, etc. But yeah, it's good to see that he's taken, you know,
Hány kör még?
11.
I was giggling there because you've had your fair share of incidents in VC. I was thinking of the time he smacked into the pit wall. Smacked into the A wall.
Microphone muted.
One of the chicanes on the Mulsanne Straight, just at full speed. That was
Hello,
well,
Nico.
2 o'clock in the morning.
Hello, Nico.
24-hour race, all right? I didn't see the wall.
I'm just sitting by the sideline today.
Thought we'd gone back in time, just not
supporting the
using
guys,
games anymore.
watching the
Fortunately,
breakfast.
there's no video evidence of that because the stream never processed on YouTube.
Did you get collected in? Or Adam?
I'm disappointed
Did
about
it get
that, I've got to
collected?
say, but anyway, that's the story. Thankfully, I've not got any VEC moments of calamity to share,
Yet.
not yet, no. But maybe one day. I've certainly got stories of woe in other series, but anyway, we'll leave that for another day. But by the way, if there are any drivers listening on, and you want to have a chat, then put yourself in the waiting for interview room, and we can bring you in, have a bit of a chat about how the race is going, especially during some of the longer races. We like to have a bit of a chat with you, see how things are going on. But still welcome during this one as well, even if it is the tied shortest race of the season. We're following
Lehet, hogy egy GT-t kibaszott le aktíva, de nem vagyok biztos benne.
Of any class leader at the moment. Been pretty flawless so far from him.
Homokon volt, és pont ő előzte.
And talking of that, Winchik Racing.
Már még szerintem lehet, hogy elfordult előtte, és a Dirty-erbe meg eldobta.
Microphone activated. Microphone muted.
Úgy neki most nagyon szarul jön ki mindig, ahogy nézem.
Who got past Hyperion, who were second place. They now move up to first, and Hyperion continue their way forward. Look at some damage on the front of that car as well. So definitely all changing.
Meg szendeli rendesen.
As we are coming in. What's that about? Yeah.
Egymás mellett fordultak a P2-vel a T1-be.
Lehet, hogy nagyon határon van tempóval. Ő neki ez a vége. Talán.
Első cut. Pont. Még életemben nem kaptam cutot. 0-50 és 16-ot lehet.
Jó van.
Anyád, mi van ott, Geci? The Max 6.
But I think Pelesny's been off, and he's now been caught by Juices and Arnage, who continue their battle from before.
Yeah, I think you're right. He had a 6 seconds slower lap last time, so it was very recent.
Az LMP-ket most érik utol.
Ja, most állnak majd ki az LMP-k, úgyhogy az útcsókanyar kijáratán vigyázzál, most kezdte Darius a boxot. Úgyhogy ott majd nem ennyi, arra majd figyelj, hogy ott majd inkább az even maradj, ha lehet.
Sometimes we do see that as well, of course, but remember, joint championship leaders along with the 91 Blackhawk. 91 Blackhawk are way down, last and 4 laps down in the category, so Pelesny needs to be making sure that they're not losing any more points, as it's sort of a free race at this point.
What a remarkable race we have seen so far. GT3 continuing to stay close. Nisla now with an even bigger gap over the rest of the field. Visceral still in second. Diego Silva driving that car at the moment. In LMP2, Ferrari's not sure whether Code 80 has played a role in that, but nearly 50 minutes for LMP2 still not to have made a fuel stop is pretty impressive and a bit larger than maybe what we see normally.
Yeah, potentially. It's been definitely a tricky start. Over the course of the race, gaps have spread out more so than you would potentially see otherwise. As just noticing, a couple of LMP2 pit stops coming in. We've got RTR, and then that is Seawolf in the background. So Boda and Lundvo. Oh, that is tricky for Seawolf, just getting a bit of an awkward pit stop there. Not changing tyres, they stayed down on the floor, so it's just gas and go for these teams.
Hány kör még?
It certainly will be.
8 ezen kívül.
It's a bit awkward as well in pit lane, as you can see. Where is Darius Andre going to come out in relation to them is my next question. Where is he at the moment? He should be in front of them, you'd imagine, but let's see. Yes.
Kíváncsi vagyok, hogy ők mit fognak csinálni. Elesít mennyire kéne kiszakítani?
20.
Az nem biztos.
Hát mert annyi a kerésre.
Jó, hát hogyha a 20 nem sikerül, igazából most vagy tőle 10-re. Az első pár körben az... Az első pár körben az csúnyán csúszni fog lefele. Inkább nem is hevesi a kérdés, hanem a Schindlerék, hogy ők mit csinálnak.
De az messze van.
Hát 21-re van egyelőre.
24. Nálam. Ők is kapnak.
What benefits you is that obviously you go longer into the race, but then you actually do an overcut, basically, especially as they're not changing tyres. So the tyres are the exact same, but Gold Racing, they had more fuel for those couple of laps. They had more fuel, so it might actually, in these situations, be quicker to stay out because you're basically doing quali laps when everyone else is back onto full tank, and he's certainly taking some risk because he potentially wants to sort of try and undercut there, but I don't know if it's going to work. We'll have to see exactly where.
Van briefing videó, Csabi?
Ezt mondjuk azért a verseny első órája után jó, hogy megkérdezem. Nincs.
Én sem néztem.
Nincs briefing videó.
Azért mondom.
Nincs.
Mert a fiúk mindenhol próbálnak előzgetni a pályán.
Azt mondja, az S10, a T10 és a T11 az gázos. Az nem szereti a Jimmy, hogy ott valami van. Ki gondolta volna
Megint
Darius?
megverték őket a boxba.
Ki gondolta volna Darius, megverték a boxba? Ki gondolta volna? Ráadásul ez kemény gumi a izén a...
Master struck there by Scuderia Ferrari. So we're third place in class just about 15 minutes ago.
Mondjuk azért a rajtot így most visszanéztem a több kamerából is, azért pár GT-hez azért lenne egy-két kérdésem, hogy mégis úgy volt az elképzelés. Mert mondjuk flat auton sikerült általában összeérniük akárkivel. Tehát amikor látod, hogy előtted pileup van, akkor fékezel testvére.
The Hard's just also doing a double stint. We'll have to certainly find out, but what we are going to see this stint as well is have the mediums dropped off more than the hard tyres. So this might be a tricky one for Andre, but he's certainly got the speed and he's pushing.
He is pushing at the moment and will want to go straight back through again. What about we're going to see between these two teams?
User disconnected from your channel.
Rick megmondta.
Ja, gondolom. Volt egy üzenete, hogy nem tetszik neki, hogy nem vagyunk azon a TS-en, amin ő. Ja, nem adjuk meg neki.
That will allow these two to be the leaders once again, you'd imagine. I think Christian Patterson is going to be able to get back in front of these guys again.
Ez 5 szeg, az meg ez pont arra jó, hogy semmire. Elgondolkodunk azon, hogy csináljuk valamit, de nem szabad.
Down into the final corner they go. Andonovski in front of Andre. It's a bit of a slow up there.
Jó tempó nagyon.
in front just halts the exit from Timothée Andonovski. 3 wide in the background as well, with one of the lapped LMP2s getting involved. That's Sim Racing for Holland going down the inside of everybody, and that is going to just stall any progress for Darius Andre. It's actually going to really disadvantage him as the hypercar just gets plonked in the middle of the leading battle.
Yeah, it's a difficult situation when you get yeah, the traffic ruining these battles in some ways, but somehow someone who has lost out quite a bit.
Nem tudom, hogy visszamerjem még venni egyel a Brainwash-ra.
Hagyd úgy, jó az úgy.
Utolsó előtti kanyarba beblokkol az elején. Már vagy harmadjára csúszok le az ívre és bukok gecisokat.
Fékez korábban.
Yeah, an interesting one to lose a couple of seconds there, but there is
5-10-et kaptam egy szektorral.
Ja, 25 hetet jött, 43-4-et. A középső végéig voltál tőle egy 10 előnybe kb.
Trükközik az autó. Kicsit koncentrálni kell.
Close to a lap behind NeedRacing.com now, we've barely seen today, but they're 7th. Turka Hakkinen started that car, and he is still driving it as well, of course. They've not been in for a stop. They did actually come in under the code 80, but they've not been in for a scheduled stop just yet. Everyone slows up a little bit then, and Patrick Sikorski has caught up slightly as well. So this is pretty close now for the lead in LMP2, not only for the front two, but actually the top 3 entirely now, although Darius Andre is nowhere near close enough to make any moves on Andonovski as we approach the end of the opening hour of this first, or of this 4 hours of Bahrain.
Yes, it's been actually a pretty nice one over the course of this first hour or so. We, of course, still waiting for some pit stops in a round to see exactly what the strategy is going to be over the course of the race. 4 hours, not a lot of time to do your strategy, and so far a couple of teams have been doing it right, at least in this LMP2 battles. We are seeing it a little bit further down. There are some very close battles coming in closer as well. See Luca Martona for arms. He's getting close to Pedro Ramada up ahead in that battle for what's currently P5 and 6. And just in behind, there's quite a few cars all stacking up, including that Seawolf car that we're seeing in the pit stop. So definitely the battles will continue very nice. And also in the GT3s, they're actually not too spread out themselves. Liam Runs, who we saw overtaking Pinchers, he hasn't really pulled away, but he's certainly now in some further battle because it's actually pinned Van Mark, who's got past the pair of them.
He has, yes. Not sure how he's managed that actually, but he's having a real resurgence towards the end of this stint, even on the hard tyres. I guess maybe that is one of the reasons for it. Liam Ranstra, oh wow, he was very close to getting tapped around there, was Pim Van Ark. It was one of the LMP2s down his inside. It's one of the odd Cyber cars by the looks of that, and he very nearly got tapped into a spin. Liam Rans was trying not to get that, trying not to let that happen. It was going to, whether he liked it or not, as far as the LMP2 was concerned. And thankfully for Pim Van Ark, the contact wasn't that severe because the Porsche stayed rock solid and didn't move anywhere.
Yeah, that was quite fortunate, just with where they where they made the contact, where the weight was on the cars, because if there was any sort of unbalance or a tap to the front or rear, then one of the cars would be spinning around, and that is not the nicest thing to do. But look at all these cars coming up through very fast corners into the 10, 12,
10-11-ben annyira lelassulnak a GT-k, hogyha mögé érsz pont, akkor nem tudom, lehet az lenne a jobb, hogy bedobnám, mert kb. 110-re visszalassulnak, meg tudnám menni, vagy 150-160-nal. Most is ott maradtam, és egyszerűen egy helyben álltam.
Out through the final corner.
Egyelőre ne dobáld be.
Lots of prototypes involved, including that battle for the lead.
Kísérd le őket, az a safe.
Tudom, csak pont azt mondom, hogy nem is lenne kockáztatás, csak ki kéne próbálni egyszer.
Jó.
And they are getting quite close to the hour as well, as it looks here. Maybe they will be able to make 3 stops. We were speculating earlier whether they will or not. They're getting close to the hour. 57 minutes gone now.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a bit closer, a bit earlier, that we're going to see the pit stops here. So they're obviously stretching it out. And to be fair, the LMP2s actually, they went a bit further than I was expecting. So maybe this track is just
hamarosan box, figyelj rá.
For the fuel consumption compared to some of the others potentially.
3 kör ezen kívül.
That is working out quite nicely for some of those teams, at least trying something a little bit more different, a bit different on the strategy.
Darius Andre still second, Timothy Andonovsky just up in front at the moment, then Patrick Szykovsky in the 3rd place of this race in LMP2. Into the final corner they go.
Forward 77.
Here in Bahrain, an hour defined by the crash at the start of the race. It was Patrick Schindler not going anywhere, Mitchie Hoyer getting into the back of him, and a chain reaction behind as almost everybody got involved, and it's created the situation we're seeing at the moment. Thankfully the lead is still close together and having a good fight, but the field has been ruined behind. Thankfully most of them, with the exception of Yunus Ravio's BS Plus Zoom competition car, have been able to get away cleanly and get back out there onto the circuit again, thankfully. So that is good news. Nearly the end of the opening hour then, Cameron, as I say, there's
3 kör múlva kell jönnöm, majd szóljatok.
Than saying it was the start of the race that is the defining moment so far.
Yes, 100%, because first of all it took out a lot of people, but then the Code 80 obviously pushed us back a bit in the strategy as well, and overall it just spread out the positions a little bit, so it sort of changed a lot of these battles that would have had 3, 4, 5 cars close together, and instead we're going back to sort of 1, 2 car battles. So it's been a really big factor, and to be honest, that was probably the worst VC start we've had in many years. I remember a crash back at Le Mans when we did it must be like season 9 or 10, back when we did the start on the back straight coming out Techeru. There was a huge crash there, but I think this one was worse.
Majdnem kibaszott GT.
Yeah, 9 or 10 it was. I wouldn't like to guess which, but That was quite large. At the start of a 24-hour race
kijáraton kiment a rázóra, megcsúszott és visszajött bal oldalra. Visszacsúszott, geci. Rajtam támasztott ki.
Értjük, koncentrálj, légy szíves. És kérjél boxot.
Oké.
Rendben. Majd checkpod le, hogyha van időt, hogy jó ég. 2 hátsót cseréled.
Larti Leo pont pont elnémít ki ez a GT-ból. 2 hátsót cserélem, 1-es szány. ASUS litet.
Egyes szárny.
1-es.
Annyi van, hogy majd 56-osra mész majd hátrafékbe.
56, az kemény.
Addig hátra kell mennie. Kezdésnek.
A little bit later on in the race, about half an hour or so. But for now, it will remain myself, you and O'Leary. Darathacker will join me for the next half hour of this one for a VEC debut. And what a day to make you.
Ez nem tudom, most a 4%, nem tudom mennyi.
Annyi. Vagy 5.
I'm guessing you've been watching the opening hour of this race. I can't promise you it's normally like this. It's an unusual start to this race, I think it's fair to say. But good to have you alongside me as the race is possibly just settling down now that we're an hour into it.
Yeah, afternoon you and afternoon everybody. Yeah, the start was it was an interesting one, wasn't it? Down the main screen. I'm glad we saw a couple of replays of that because it's difficult to unpack exactly what happened there. I mean, yeah, not always the start you see at Bahrain. I mean, we saw a couple of hours ago in the WEC Bahrain. There was an incident at turn 1, but we got that before we even got to the opening corner. But it's been a good opening hour. I mean, we've got a good battle on the screen here in the LMP2s for the lead of the race. And it's been a good opening hour. And looking forward to the next couple of hours, especially in the hypercars and the GTs, because they are some tight fields at the moment. I'm interested to see how they develop.
Yeah, and the pit stops will certainly develop those a little bit further. Thomas Enger sim racing at
a másodikon például jobbos fölfelén padlózhatom? Vagy ugyanúgy emeljek bele?
Emelj bele, mert az elsőt fogod szétkúrni ott, ugye? Nem a hátrébb fog csúszni.
LMP2 is kind of in a holding pattern at the moment here, and I'm kind of disappointed about that because so far the racing around here.
Egy kör múlva vagyok.
És az S10 a második szekre első kanyarjai, ott azt vissza kell váltani 2-vel mindenképp. Már az első körtől. Ott a bejáratot 2, utána a balos nemet A3.
Pretty dynamic stuff, especially in GT. We've seen quite a few battles there, but in all the classes really.
Nagyon kíváncsi vagyok, hogy a részkrat cserél a gumit.
And been enjoying it so far. And only its second appearance on the VEC calendar in 16
seasons. Vagy kör végén szóljatok.
Absolutely. I mean, it's one of the classic tailkers, really, isn't it? I mean, you've got the long straights, heady braking zones, as is his custom. Turn 1, turn 4, good overtaking opportunities, maybe down into turn 11 if you've got the overspeed like we have. Here in VEC with the multi-class categories, but you know it's one of those tracks where you can go side by side quite a lot of the lap. I mean, even up the hill, turn 12, turn 13, just up to where Darius Andre is going to be now, you can really see some cracking side-by-side racing all the way through, and we are getting some pit stops.
Nem értem, miért villognak a GT-k, hogyha tehát, hogy fejfej mellett megyek be a féktávra, azt villognak.
Azért, hogy miért mentél be?
Hát azért, hogy egész ne bukjék időt.
Csak azt nem értem meg, hogy te azzal kurva sok időt buksznak. Körvégén box.
Még van a kedvenc. Nyik kanyar.
Tudjuk, hol jár a pályán legalább.
Amúgy is. Most fordulok ki a hátsó egyenesre. Box. Ne felejtsd el, ne essél be mélyre.
És vigyázz majd, mert teli van GT-kkel a box.
Jött Lartiló is.
New leader Thomas Enger sim racing now to the front, and this is exactly why I love the strategy of VEC.
Figyelj, mert indulhatnak a GT-k.
The fact that you don't change tires and take on fuel at the same time means that you can have these situations.
Nincs lazítás, amíg meg nem áll az autó.
Majd pont mellém jön ki az egyik GT. És pont elindultak ízé.
Jó. 56-ra most rak hátra a féket. Tehát 56, 44-re.
Lehet elbasztam valamit.
Miért?
Hát, hogy bal oldalról jöttem be a boxba. Pont jött ki a GT. Hát, hogy nem mentem be jobb oldalra, az most is úgy?
Nem.
Jó, akkor.
Ott neki kellett volna unsafe release van, ugye?
Én balról fordultam be, ő meg pont indult, és kicsit
Az unsafe release. Az neki.
Így keresztbe álltam be emiatt. Na mindegy, legalább megálltam az a lényeg. Szerintem most indult el, de akkor nem cseréltek. Ja, nem, ez a need racing most.
Akkor viszont ők nem cseréltek. Nem mind a need racing.
Need racing az most jött be.
Most jött be? Bocs.
Most kín van már a race?
Nem, még benn van a boxban.
Akkor megelőztem. Most indult el. Átugrottuk. Akkor mindenhol cseréltek?
Nem volt annyi különbség.
Nem, lehet, hogy volt valami törés vagy ilyesmi.
Ja.
Lehet, hogy a GT, de...
Pilóta csere volt, nem?
Nem volt, nem. Ott valami más van, mert 10 szek a különbség. Ott cseréltek még egy gumit, szerintem.
Erről. Nem?
Nem, szerintem ők ne cseréltek mind a 4-et, babám, mert 10-re volt előtted, és most 10-re van mögötted. Az azt jelenti, hogy plusz 20-at át, ami azt jelenti, hogy ők 4
jó van, értem, Csabi.
Akkor csend. Azt nem tudom, hogy mennyire erről tessem az elsőt.
Hát azt próbáld meg egyelőre sem mennyire. Meg kell várni, hogy bemeleszik a hátulja, ugye? Fölmegy a nyomás.
Akkor nekik se adta a 45-ös kör. Nekik se jött be. 7,5-re van. Pont ugyanegy.
Mindenhol ortolós lesz, úgyhogy vigyázz.
Igen, érzem.
Ott fölfelé el kell emelni. Amint elkezd blokkolni a hátsó tengely egyszer is, abban a pillanatban menj előrébb fékbe.
Ja.
Akár 1%-ot egyből.
Martin Mergley is a good 8 seconds in front of Tom Lartelo at this stage. That is a surprise. Winchick Racing Team now to the lead and really giving it to
58-nál előrébb nem kell menjél. Az a maximum.
So into the final corner goes Martin Mergley at the moment. He will be in the lead here unless there's been a shorter stop from these guys currently in pit lane right now.
Elsők vagyunk.
Ha mindenki jól csinálsz, akkor végig 43-ba tudsz menni egyébként, forgalom nélkül persze.
Will get to the lead now ahead of Lartelo, and then the rest of them will be behind that. Bit of strategy involved here, Darryl. We're not entirely sure how many tyres these guys have taken on, but Martin Mergley is that's the only thing we do know. We just don't know how many. Certainly taken on less than Tom Lartelo.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be important for these guys to try and work each other out. Of course, the two of them, Winchick and Race Clutch, top of the standings, both on 141 points after similar results at Road Atlanta and Monza. But it's going to be realistically whoever at this point in time, whoever finishes in front is going to be looking like they're going to be leading the championship, which is an important step to make as we go to the next race at Spa in 4 weeks' time. So that'll be interesting to see. But Mergley trying to get past here. Got a couple of LMP2s to get through, it seems, or might be a couple of hypercars a lap down. But yes, important for him to get through as he does get through on these LMP2s inside at turn 11, as you can do when you're a class higher. Of course, very cruise alongside and then down the inside turn 11.
Anyád már 3 méter van.
Corner before you rise up the hill, just single file out a little bit.
Jó, ne foglalkozz ezzel.
Second sector, but yeah, good for Mergley. And we'll have to see how his strategy develops if he takes a couple of tyres further later into the race.
Ő tisztán tudott jönni, mikor beteleköröztem.
It does make sense, by the way, that he's taken on 2 tyres less. According to well, I was about to say according to our maths, it's really Cam's maths. it makes sense, it adds up. Let's just have a look on what tyres they're on at the moment, because
meg nagyon jó vagy egyenesben most végsebességre, úgyhogy ne felejtsd el.
No, it hasn't helped us at all. They're all on the soft tyres, so that's not helpful. But at the moment, Martin Mergley is back in front again after taking those 2 tyres. But you know, has he? The thing we're wondering about is, has Mergley just taken none and Lartelo has taken 2, or has Mergley taken 2 with Lartelo taking 4? I would go for the second one probably. However,
ilyesítem volna, hogy izé könyörgök, hogy jöjjön már meg a nyomás.
Pretty quickly. The gap was 8 seconds when he came out. It's already down to 3.4. This is going to be an imminent battle, surely.
Yeah, he's closing down there on Mergley, and he's going to have to start looking in his rear mirrors soon, because Lartelo is coming up behind him in that race clutch.
Olyan 5 kör kell neki, 5-6 kör.
Of not Roland Toth is not too far behind either in P3, so got to keep an eye out for him, and with Toth as well. Cannot forget Hevesi in 4th, who was just less than half second behind him at this stage as well. So he's going to
41-6-ot jött mondjuk mögötted.
Making his way through those LMP2 cars, and he has now got no drivers between himself and Martin Mergley.
Fokozatosan, ahogy megyünk előre, annál lassabb lesz.
Ja persze, most még nagyot ugrik az övé.
Azt kéne kibírnom, hogy amíg neki felmegy a nyomás, addig legyek előtte.
Igen.
43-5 most, és 1/10 közeledett.
Na most neki volt lekörözés.
A fasz csinálsz? Hát Geci egyenesbe beleemel.
Hevesi has got past Roland Toth now and is into 3rd place. So that's a good pass for Go Team Racing. No other particular changes in the field. Have noted though that suddenly Satellite Racing have got 3 cars inside the top 5. They've got Jimmy Nisler in 2nd, Liam Rance, Andrew Holland.
Amint blokkolsz, mondom, előre kell mennünk be.
Én nem blokkoltam.
And then in the 65, Liam Rance is in the top 5 as well. What a day Satellite Racing are having so far. I guess some of it comes down to them making their way through the opening chaos of the race, but you've got to take your hat off for that. 3 cars.
Jó, csak emlékeztetek, nehogy elfelejtsem.
Just 3 cars in the race.
Microphone activated.
Yeah, Netherlands already had the best start to the season so far. So this is a cracking result if it were to go the way it is at the moment. Of course, a very, very long way to go. 2:49 on the clock. We're only through the first hour, and some of those cars who work up in instance can start to recover if they have the pace. But yeah, 2nd, 4th and 5th really going well for them at the moment, and Liam Rance is doing a good job of defending that P5 at this stage of the race. From the competition car just in behind him, but
Megint jött fel.
Jó, már csak pár kört kell kibírjam.
3.5 seconds between them, which leaves Diogo Silva might start coming under pressure if a little bit of momentum can go with these Satellite Racing cars.
Meg most kanyar bejáratokon vagy lassú, ugye? De kijáratokon ugyanolyan jó vagy.
Yeah, certainly does. Adam Pinches is the one just behind him there, and that battle will continue on. The gap between the 2 leaders still just 2 seconds now, and that is going to be below 2 seconds, I would guess, at the end of this lap. Let's see, yes, 1.9, good guess from me on that occasion. By the way, Nick De Silva has just messaged me, as always a reliable source of information at Rage Clutch, and thanks to him again. He says that they think Mergley only took rears, which I guess would make sense. It does feel like one of those circuits where traction is very important, and it's sort of a good idea to, if you're going to do 2, then do the rears, because there are a lot of traction zones out of this corner. I mean, pretty much out of every single corner you're accelerating again. There's not many high-speed corners around here, so rears seem like the logical choice, although I haven't done any research myself.
Hát, ez annyira utálom, amikor annyira bizonytalanak a GT-k.
13 and 15 could probably argue a medium speed, medium to low, but I mean, you look through here where Mergley's coming through 8 and then into 9 and 10. These are heavy braking zone. Ooh, he's just about going to sneak down the inside at turn 9 and into 10. But of course, heavy braking zone. Got to get on the power nice and early from there, and that gap really is starting to close. But they are into some traffic now, as Lartelo is now starting to make his way through. You can just see in the background gets through all 3 of the cars. Who aren't hypercars, a couple of LMP2s and a couple of GTs in there as well, I think. But Maguli is going to have to find his way through, pick his way through, because there's all 3 classes involved here, and everyone's trying to get past everyone, and it's difficult to pick a way through, especially when you know that You're being bared down on 5/10 more taken out of him in that sector alone. 8/10 so far on this lap, and he really is going to start coming under some pressure soon from Lartelo.
Well, there is the battle between the LMP2 leaders as well. They just go through. Bert Knox is also catching Turka Hakkinen for 6th place in the race.
És már kezdődött érezni elvileg, hogy jobban fordulsz.
There are so many happening at this stage, and Bert Knox is getting lights flashed at him by one of the armed cybercars, I think that is again. Clearly not pleased with the way that they were overtaken down in towards turn 9 and 10.
Hát csak most nagyon rossz a forgalom.
Ne izgulj, hát kanyarban nem tud megelőzni.
Nem izgulok, csak mondom, infózok. Csak egy nem volt, nem figyeltem erre, mert egész körbe csak forgalmaztam.
When you're single file, but clearly Bert Knox did go for it there, and now he's closed in on Turka Hakkinen. I think this battle is going to happen simultaneously for 6th place as the battle for the lead, as Mergley now sees his gap less than a second. He does put the LMP2 leader though between himself and his rival.
Yeah, which can be very important indeed, but we'll have to see if Lartelo will come through into turn 9. I think he will. Outside line will go all the way around here, so I guess he will, but then he's got a GP.
Érzem, hogy már valamivel jobb, de még nem az igazi.
Again, comes the LMP2, and that's getting very close together for contact, and they're now going to have to both try and get through on the GT.
Aha, első hátsó blokk. Egyel fel.
On the inside there, is it off the track? So it's just a bit of tarmac. Just go over that because you're still on the track technically, but you got through, and that's what he needed to do, and that's what he has done. And Lartelo again closing back in. I mean, he'll hope to see the end of these cars, but of course with so many on track, I think you said before, nearing on 50 cars, they just don't stop coming in front of you because there are so many cars on track. A little bit of a gap ahead of these GTs though. We'll have to see if Lartelo can come through here.
Yeah, well, certainly will. It's not going to happen. It's the GT3s who are going to stall him in his progress, and so it will have to wait another lap by the looks of things. More flashing of the lights there as that battle in GT3 just perks up as well in the background. It's of course the two satellite racing cars, Andrew Holland and Liam Rance, ahead of Adam Pinchas as well in towards turn 1, and well, they're going to continue that battle, I would imagine. Apparently it says that there's a 100-second gap between third
and second at
the moment. I'm finding that difficult to believe, but it may be the case. Not sure, but oh no, well, it's come down to 70 seconds. I find that difficult to believe as well. There's the there we go, 16 seconds. That seems a lot more reasonable. That was the Visceral car, by the way, that Martin Mergley just got through. That would have very much confused me.
Igen.
That's also a leading battle that's closing in because
ne bazd el a kigyorsítás előtt arra figyelj.
Thomas Enger Sim Racing only 1.4 seconds in front of Satellite Racing now, which is a significant shortening of that gap as well. We could have 3 simultaneous battles for the lead here if we're not careful.
Absolutely. I mean, we talk about this battle in the hypercar, but whilst Andonovski was getting overtaken there by both of the leaders, of course, he is then being closed down by Andre in that Gold Racing Esports car in the LMP.
Még 2-3 kör, aztán neki is 180 lesz a nyomás.
Most 57-en vagy, ugye?
58.
Ja?
You're looking at 1.01, 1.09 and 0.5.
Azt mondtad, hogy 2-t menjünk.
Akkor menj vissza 57-re. Én úgy értettem, hogy 57-en legyen.
Very exciting now after an hour and 17 of this race. We've got some cracking battles for the lead.
We certainly do. Although this one has taken a little bit longer to develop than I thought it would, I've got to say. Still around a third of the way into
Már egyszer blokkolt, aztán felraktam.
Jó, egyenlőben sok mindent nem fog tudni veled csinálni, mert lassabb az egyenlőben.
Is on the back of Wojtek Polesny. In front of him, of course, is the championship leader. It's Thomas Enger Sim Racing, having finished second and first in the opening 2 races of the season, winning at the 1,000 miles of Road Atlanta 1 month ago. They are now under pressure for the lead by the pole sitters of the 4 Hours of Bahrain. Nisila right behind. He's not going to do it on this occasion. There's the gap. It's basically nothing. He'll have to follow through, surely, in the middle sector, unless there's going to be a dive down the hill here at turn 8.
Yeah, absolutely, and these guys are very quickly being caught by the leads in the hypercar, just in a couple of corners behind. So we're going to have to see what happens there. We might see an opportunist move, maybe from Nizila on Polesny, if he can find a way when they're being overtaken. But there you go, 5 cars there, the 2 lead hypercars, the 2 lead GTs, all through, and there goes the leader in the hypercars, down the inside and round the outside. Oh my word, into turn 10. Does come Lartelo. Mercury got through very nicely, but Lartelo's got a little bit of work to do on the exit, and he does it with ease on the traction. But meanwhile, Nico is still very close to the back of Polesny, but he's got to be careful because the LMP2 will be coming down the inside, and there he goes. Not cleanly done there, and he will be ahead. That'll allow these two GTs to continue battling, but Izzy are so close at the back. It's feel like he's pushing the Ferrari down, or through turn 12 up the hill, really. We'll have to see if he can make a move soon. Turn 1 might be a good opportunity, of course, with the slipstream down the main straight, but will he go for it sooner than that?
Very close behind on that occasion. You can see in the bottom of your screen the onboard of Yumi Nissala, and in the main part, the top of your screen, it's the off-board shots of what is going to be a side-by-side battle very soon. Into the final corner they go. That was very close.
Ott van a mix segítségnek, hogyha kell egyébként. Mert ugye bőven jó vagyunk időben, így a kódéti miatt.
The sleek McLaren is decent in a straight line anyway, only getting more assistance now as we fly towards turn 1. Yumi Nissala's going to be flying in the lead of this race very soon, surely. Unless the virtual owned by TX3 Hypercar has anything to do with it, maybe not. Nissala goes very deep into the corner. Pelesny will do the cutback. He'll be on the outside through turn 2, which gives him the inside at 3. The leading battle in LMP2 is going to come through on this as well. What a race we're seeing so far, as Wojciech Pelesny now will have to go through the middle. It's Gold Racing Esports on the very inside, and Pelesny...
Arra figyelj mindig, hogy az even fékez, mert ott tapad az autó. Te nem menj be belülre.
So close together. I mean, all four, the top 2 in the LMP2 and the top 2 in the GT, coupled by about 5/10 of a second into turn 4 that time around.
Jelenleg feltart egy Iris.
Here comes more, that's a hypercar now, coming around the outside of turn 8. That could very well be the P3 car in hypercar of Gabba Havesi, the go team.
Reménykedek, hogy
coming through, but
neki is el fog menni így a féke.
Definitely not going to give this one up. He knows he can make that move, because he pretty much did it this time around, but he needs to do it once again to just make it stick this time.
Ajjajjaj, ez rossz nézni. Mi van? Most végeztem testépítő mesterkurzust, hagy mutassak valamit. Szorítsd meg. Könnyékbe. Dőlj előre. És mehet.
Jó, hát ezt én nem tudom annyival csinálni.
Pont ez a lényeg, barátom.
És ettől úgy fog kinézni, mint te?
Hát szerencséd van, akkor igen.
Na jó, hagyjál már.
Miről beszélsz, mit csinálsz?
Azt hiszed, hogy olyan célakarokat akarok, mint te?
Milyen célnakarokat?
Bicikli bovda.
Milyen bicikli bovda?
Giliszta.
Na jó, hagyjál már, te sírkelábú.
Na, az gyerekes volt.
Anyárba befelé semmi tapadás. De még mindig.
For as long as he can, while Nissala is supposed to be out front and making time, he's being held up by the Ferrari for Tomasenko Sim Racing. It's finally the move complete though for Satellite Racing, and through they go into the lead. Will they be able to stay there? Pelesny into the slipstream again. He's going to duck to the inside, at least get in the mirrors of Nissala. That was more to put off the Finnish driver in front of him, I think, rather than make a serious move.
Kicsit megcsúszott a izé. Tízesbe.
What a fantastic move from Izzy. I didn't think he'd have a chance at the inside of turn 11, well, through turn 12 I should say, and then into turn 13, but he managed to make that move, and he went all the way around the outside in doing it as well. Good defense at the final corner and turn 15 as well, but here we go for the lead for the hypercars. Lartelo, a great exit.
Megelőzött.
Nem baj, próbálj maradni.
Keep this one alive, because Lartelo will have the inside line. Will he stick it down there? Yes, he will, just about at the front end of his car, and he will take that position very nicely on the brakes, and he now takes the lead unless Mergley can come back, but I don't think he will. They're just about side by side, but Lartelo chops across the front, and into turn 13 they go. Tom Lartelo into the lead after 1 hour 23 in this race. That's a battle that's been brewing for some laps now, about 20 minutes or so, and finally Tom Lartelo does take the lead of this race. And he looks like he might be able to keep it because he's got built a nice gap so far back to Mergley.
Yeah, and that gap is only going to extend further for more than half an hour as well. It's going to be a long stint now for the hypercars to get into. Over the straight they go, down the front straight, and yes, through Lartelo goes. That's going to be him holding on to the place as well into turn 1. So both of those battles for both hypercar and GT3 seem to finally be settled. But what great battles they were. Lartelo just moved to the inside there just to break the 16 there ever further, but with those two newer tyres, new fronts as well as new rears as well, big house, it's a good place for racers to be in. They're back into the league again, and we'll see now when they extend the margin to more than 8 seconds.
Azt, hogy befordul nekik a 10-esbe.
Ott van gumi. Csabi, itt vagy?
Microphone muted. Microphone activated.
I fear for them that maybe it is going to lose them time.
Absolutely, but we now see Peleshny. He's got quite a ways back, isn't he now? 1.7 seconds off the
Gyere át
lead
más
of the
tovább
PT
picit.
class, so there's not really, that battle is now gone. You could really see that
User left your
there was
channel.
a
You were
lot more
moved.
pace underneath.
Szerintem mennyi értelme, te konsta csapat tudtál jönni. Itt ez most lehet, hogy számít azon, hogy elsők leszünk, vagy nem. Neked alig, most néztem meg, alig volt 44-es köröd. Nekem jóval több volt.
Mentem melegíteni, fater!
Nem tényleg csak azért. Az első etapon te sokkal jobbakkal tudsz már jönni. Nekem kellett volna még egy nap vagy kettő, hogy ezzel a szettel tudjak menni.
Jó, értem. Mennyire van még vissza kb?
Van még bőven óra. Bő fél óra.
Jó van akkor.
De most előbb most lehet, hogy ezen múlik, hogy nyerünk vagy nem. Ugyanazt tudjuk igazából, tehát hogyha akárhogy is nézzük, igazából tök mindegy melyikünk megy, de te az elsőn jobban tudtál jönni.
De már a második orot meg összelassulunk.
Igen.
Gyorsulunk.
Hát de most teljesen hátsót volt cserélni, nem az oldalát.
Ja.
Ott az szar volt, de ezt mondtam, hogy ez nem működik. Ezt mondtam egyébként.
Between these two, although it has just stalled out over the last few moments. Usually, we would have seen the LMP2s in again at this point if we're doing 40-minute stints, but as you can see, we've done 125 minutes.
Visszarakhatsz lódok, főhök szerverre, azt megyek.
We will see Gold Racing Esports first, though, and that will be the obvious moment when the LMP2 pit stop cycle has actually begun, and that will happen over the next 5 minutes. I would imagine maybe they'll be able to go even longer, not entirely sure, but a good battle between them, although...
Miről beszéltetek?
Hogy ő fog beülni, már az első etapon jobbat jött. Most is, ma is.
We haven't really seen much in LMP2 just yet. Maybe at this stage, it's so late in the stint, Darius Andre is just going to wait.
Egyelőre még itt vagyok, szeken belül.
Hát azt mondtam, hogy innentől kezdve nehezen fog lerázni.
Ó, csak jó lett volna előtte maradni.
Igen.
Basszom, 10-esbe tudod, kiment a hátulja, ez kellett egy nagyon nagy ellenkormányzás.
Akkor előre mentél fékbe is.
Most már igen.
Jó. 57 félem vagy akkor.
Igen.
Azt mondom,
hogy ezt nem hiszem el, hogy ezek hogy tudják mindig megúszni, hát egyfolytában szendeli be.
Ne ezzel foglalkozzál, ezért volt már büntetésük. Nekünk meg nem.
Igaz?
Csináld a dolgot, fiam.
Azért mondom, ezzel ne foglalkozzál. Menjél vele, amikor tudsz. A szélények sokat húz most rajtunk.
Still closing into the back at Turka Hakkinen, who was very close at the moment to the back of P6 overall, which of course is
hány köröd van még vissza?
sim racing for Holland car, so not of the P6 unfolding. They're a little ways behind P5
22.
and a long way ahead of P8. Okay. So a little bit of an isolated battle, but a battle all the same.
Yeah, plenty going on in this race up and down the field, but we're watching one of the closer ones in Hypercar at the moment. Turka Hakkinen has recently been overtaken though by Burtnop, so I wouldn't expect this gap to actually close very much over the course of the next few moments. We have seen Arnage get back into the top.
Locking enabled.
És akkor jól gondolom, hogy nem kell a 35 kör mind a két tankon.
Nem kell foglalkozni vele, jó?
Nem. Melegítek.
Kibaszott a GT-t.
Jó.
Es kijáraton.
Jó, nem rágálom semmit a kód 80-ra.
megúszott kocsim.
Na most már rotál a hátulja, gondolom. Segít. Igen, innentől a hátuljára is figyelni kell most már, hogyha fölment a nyomás.
Nem, de hiszítettem. Csinálsz. Nem. Kapcsolj.
Microphone muted.
Tudtuk, hogy beszendelett.
P2 kezdenek pitelni megint.
Jó. A virtuál...
Ne foglalkozz vele. Kör hátrányban van. Csak előre felé. Minél közelebb maradni.
Lucsó kanyarba kapok tőle, amúgy. Jobban csinálja. Kihasználja a rázót is kijáraton.
Ez hozzátartozik, hogy te most kis szárnyon vagy hátul. Lehet, hogy nekünk nem ragad le, tudod, a hátulja annyira ott a rázon.
Ezt a 43-at tudom hozni, 43-9.
Az tökéletes.
Ilyen 1-2 tizeddel jobbat jön.
Hát jó, új gumikon van elől is.
Majdnem kibombázott egy GT-t megint.
Féket ütött, ő egy kicsit meg fogja szopni. Jobbra fölbe.
Vamos spawning. Látod? Télegyenes.
A 4-5-10-re viszont te meg tudod majd támadni, mert Szélárnyék téged fog húzni annyira.
Hát nem érzem magam gyorsabbnak.
Nem baj.
Amúgy jó lenne.
De csak hogyha bekerülsz egy, akkor tudod lassítani őt, ugye?
Ja. Most fog elhúzni. Mi van itt? Oh my Jesus.
Most GTA lesz neki.
Nekem is. Live timingon nézed amúgy?
Ja. Bár titeket közvetítenek.
Microphone activated.
Hogy állunk körszámban?
Még 13 kör. Ezzel együtt.
Igen.
Akkor még megyek egy gyújgumit, egy pár kört összemegyek fel.
Jaj, nem raktam át. Mindegy, Csabi. A gumit tudod. Kicsim ment el.
Na nem baj. Jó volt, mert így is alig jöttem 44-et.
Assignord majd le.
Van.
Állítsa 4-es szárnyak, Martin. Meg minden gumicserét.
Jó, meg vagyok. De jó körgetsz. Nem tartottak fel.
Szép 43-5. Egyelőre a mi taktikánk a jobb. Mert a 10 másodpercről lementünk 2-re eddig. Hátrányból vagy 8 hátrányból.
Pont a szemembe süt a nap.
10 kör, ezzel együtt. Bírd ki.
Én beragadok.
Ő is, nyugi. Ilyen ott van minden előtte.
Alfabéták.
vagyok.
8 körödön.
Oké, jó. Elmentem fosni, hogy nehezen múljon.
Geci, most nagyon elment a forgalom miatt.
Nem baj, nyomod.
Kb. Ugyanoda.
Nyomod, már nincs sok vissza.
Mi az, Csabi?
Mindjárt megy mögé.
Már fenn vagyok a szerveren, csak a streamet állítom, egy pillanat türelmedet kívánom. Már Messenger-t válaszok mindjárt.
Streamelsz?
Inkább ne streameljék.
Adjam?
Igen, nem akarok semmit mutatni, hogy mit csinálunk.
Oké, jó. Akkor stream off.